Thank you, Mr. Taggart. All right. Our first speaker is Mr. Immel. No, it is not our beloved English teacher. It is his better-looking brother, Tyler Immel. So please welcome to the stage, Tyler Immel.
Okay, I got it. Good? We good? Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction, fellas. I really appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Tyler, and I got a few props, so hopefully you guys are okay with props. Hopefully be a little more interactive here. So, lessons in leadership is what I'm going to talk about today. Make sure my clicker works here. There we go. Okay, so 20 years ago, that's when I was, in your seats here, and got to grab my hat. All right, how do I look? Familiar? Good? Okay, not that great, but okay. Yeah, so thank you for the whistle. Yeah, 20 years ago was a little different. No cell phones, thank goodness. It was a lot simpler time back then, but there were a lot of things about leadership that I think people take for granted that are just everywhere. You don't have to be in some special class, although thanks again to the Garaway administration, New Point, everyone for hosting this today. But there's opportunities to develop your leadership skills at any age. So take advantage of those and you find them, but they may not be ones you realize until you're a little bit older. So that being said, move on here. Any sandwich artists in the crowd? Come on, show of hands, be proud. We got one. We got one? Come on, that's it? What's your name? Bethany. How long have you been at Subway? How's it going? Favorite sub? No. Just no. Not even going to entertain a favorite sub. Club? Nothing? No? Wow. Okay. Well, anyways, so sandwich artist. I'm a proud sandwich artist. I worked at our Sugar Creek Subway for a couple of years. Great experience. But, how does being a sandwich artist, how does that translate to leadership? Even in my job today, it's very customer service oriented. So don't think that food service is just like, I work at just McDonald's or just Subway or just Park Street, Parlor, what have you. And you really have an opportunity to, whether you're delivering a 6-inch sub or cookies, which I bought on the way here, or you're delivering a Excel spreadsheet, a product, whatever it happens to be, everyone you work with is your customer. Internal customers with your coworkers, your teammates, external customers, people who may need you for different things, and you can't please them all. So try your best to have a service mindset and try to help them, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to please them all, so just do your best to try to do that. Also, too, you can see those smiling faces up there. That's Eric and myself that we were in high school together and worked at Subway, but when you work at Subway, there's only probably, 1 or 2 people you work with at a time, Bethany? So you get that schedule, you go to the back, right? And it's kind of like, okay, who's going to be my cellmate for 4 to 11 o'clock on a Saturday night? And you're like, oh, gosh, it's Steve. Oh, no, it's Josh. I don't want to work with Matt this weekend. What are we going to talk about? So, I think through that experience, it helped me to really learn, okay, I don't know Billy's mom that well, but Billy's mom and I worked for 7 hours this weekend together, so I better figure out what I'm going to talk to her about. It's going to be really boring because there's not that many customers, and you can only sweep and mop and stack chips so many times. So, that was really a good experience for me just to learn, how to find those commonalities with people, because even though I know at Sugar Creek and everyone's the same and has the same opinions, there are some people that have different opinions and have different upbringings and things, so it's really great to be able just to connect with those people. And oftentimes those people that I thought I wasn't going to have a great time with, I really had a great time with. And I've learned a lot about them, and it was really, a great experience for me. So, all right. Another thing about leadership, it isn't always popular. Any scouts in the room? All right, show of hands. Come on, hands up high. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay. We're among friends here, right? All right, how many? One more time. All right, Troop 91. Excellent. Any ranks? Eagle, hey. Hats off. Wow, great job. Great job. So this is, leadership's not always popular. I know scouting isn't always popular. but I really enjoyed it. And Mr. Immel in the back was also a scout with me. As you can see us having probably a deep philosophical conversation with one of our fellow scouts there. But, jokes aside, being in leadership isn't always popular. There are decisions that you have to make that everyone might not agree with. And you think about, sports teams or, crews at work and things that sometimes the leader has to make a decision and they don't have time to go through and ask every single person what their opinion is, because sometimes decisions have to happen quickly. And so it's really important just to, be at peace with those decisions, gather the most information you can, and then you just have to make your decision and move on with it. But, I think that something sometimes is lost, whether it's on a sports team or, some other workplace you have, is that communicating that why around why those decisions are made. And maybe someone might not agree with you, but they're definitely going to respect and appreciate the fact you took the time to explain to them, why the decisions had to be made that were made. Anytime. There we go. Okay. So leadership's also messy. Anyone ever been in the Swiss Festival Parade? Show of hands. Okay, now we got some participation. Good. Anyone ever follow behind a horse and shovel horse things at a parade? Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so someone's with me here. Okay. So, yeah, in the Scouts, it was a fundraiser we did where we actually followed behind the horses, and me and my friend Andrew there, dressed in clown paint. It was probably 1,000-year-old clown paint, going downtown, down Main Street, scooping up horse poop. So sometimes leadership, like scooping up horse poop, is messy and it's not fun, and it might be a bit embarrassing, humbling. But I think that, even when you try to make the best plans, things are going to get messy sometimes. Things are going to go sideways, and you have to be able just to be at peace and understand that that's really what's going to happen. So I got to ask, is Mrs. Yoder here? No? Okay. I wanted to shout out Mrs. Yoder because, I thought about leadership being messy and, what are things I use in my job now? And so, has anyone had Mrs. Yoder? Show of hands for math. I should be more specific. Okay, thank you. All right, so Mrs. Yoder was my 10th grade geometry teacher, and she was also my, 9th grade geometry and 10th grade pre-calc. But I learned a lot from her about, critical thinking, problem solving, resourcefulness, and creativity. And so, one of the things at work, my job requires a lot of attention to detail and kind of showing your work and using a lot. Does she still use colors a lot in class with chalk or no? Maybe anybody? Okay, I got one hand. Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to shout out her because I think that that's something, you think, okay, I got my teacher and they're talking about something and it's not that important. But I can tell you that 20 years later, things I learned from her in that class, I still carry with me. That's still really important. So every once in a while, I'll tell people, that, I learned that from my, high school math teacher. So. Nobody told me that my headband was on the ground. Is anyone paying attention? Come on, who saw it fall? Okay, thank you. Thanks for your honesty. I appreciate it. Okay, is Mr. Zobel here? Okay, he's not here either. Nobody came today. End of the 9 weeks. I get it. But leadership requires practice, and it can be tiring sometimes. So, when you try out new things, you're not always going to be successful, and sometimes you'll never be successful at certain things. Like, I'm never going to be the starting quarterback of the football team. I don't know what gave it away, but somehow I don't think that's going to work. I'm also not going to be a linebacker or a wide receiver or anything else. I'm not going to be the starting center of the basketball team. There's a lot of things I'm not going to be good at. But, running was one thing that I did enjoy, and even then, I wasn't the best. I think the main thing is that whatever you do, you need to be reliable so your team trusts you. So whatever your role is, you need to be the best at that role. So, when I was in high school, I was a runner, and running was my identity, right? I loved running. I loved everything about cross country and track, and, our team luckily got to go to state one year, and I was the 5th runner, and there was a huge running joke around that. But, I always thought, I need to lead my team, and the only way I can lead my team is I need to be the best. But I'm telling you, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be the best at your role. So I was the best 5th guy. That was my job. My job was to be the 5th guy, and I contributed to that team. So just because you're not the very best at a certain thing, don't let that discourage you from going after that and trying to be, you can constantly make yourself better. Another thing I think I'll be honest, we're among friends here, right? Okay, of course. Are we among friends? Yes, okay, thank you. I'm trying to be vulnerable here. So, one thing I've struggled with is that, and maybe you have this in high school, maybe you're not the starting whatever on the basketball team, football team, golf team, whatever the case may be, but you shouldn't let someone else's success basically feel like you're a failure. If other people are successful in something, you should applaud them. You should be happy for them. You shouldn't be jealous of them. You can both be successful in your own ways, but just because someone else wins doesn't mean you lose. So if that's something you can take away, is that you should be happy for your friends when they do well in the things that they are passionate about. All right, going along the sports analogy here still, leadership requires being coachable. And again, these are a couple of coaches. Again, Coach Zobel's up there, bottom corner, that clean-shaven person I don't quite recognize, but myself and him and our coach from Walsh that we had for cross-country and track, and then my parents, of course. But, I think the important thing is that not even just within like sports, but outside of sports, the idea of being able to coach other people and be coachable is really important. So, throughout your life, you're going to be on different teams, different crews, different organizations and things, and just the idea of being able to take constructive feedback from people and being able to use that, because you never know who your boss is going to be. I've been in the professional world for almost 16 years, and I've had 6 different bosses, so you never know who you're going to report to, who's going to report to you, or how those things are going to play out. So I think just being open to that coaching, and again, like I said before, being comfortable with not being the best person in the room is perfectly fine. I think every stage of my life, every chapter I've had, I think, oh yeah, I've got this. I was at Garaway, and I was the smartest kid at Garaway. Not true, but I was the smartest kid at Garaway, and I went to college. And then I quickly was humbled when I met the guy who was bilingual and the guy who was the smartest kid from New Philly, and met all these people and felt very humbled. Then I got to the end of college, and I thought, okay, now I'm going to my first job, and now I'm really going to be, setting the world on fire because I went to college and I got a degree, and that's wonderful. And then quickly was humbled and, just reminded that, I still had a lot of learning to do. In every role I've been in, my current role, I deal with a pharmacy. So as you can imagine, I didn't go to pharmacy school, so I'm in rooms surrounded with pharmacists and people that are in that space up at Aultman. And so, I joke that I feel like I'm constantly the dumbest person in the room I walk into, which, if that doesn't humble you, I don't know what will, but just being okay with that. Like if you go into every room you go into, if you think about it, if you're the smartest person in that room, what does that say about yourself and the people that you associate with, Like don't you want to surround yourself with people that are better than you, that strive and excel in certain things? All right, so here's another one. Oh, good ad there. So, anybody watch The Office? There we go. Okay. So this was when I first started at work, and I went as Dwight K. Schrute one day to work for Halloween. It was a fun time. But one of my goals, and again going into leadership, is that you want to build your skills and stuff, and be able to help other people, and get certifications and get specializations, and really hone your craft, I guess I would say. But there was an exam I wanted to do called the CPA exam, to be a certified public accountant. Anyone? I know you guys did a career day this morning. Anybody interested in accounting as a career? One person. Wow. What's your name? Jensen. Why accounting? What interests you about accounting?
My mom's in accounting.
Your mom's in accounting? Okay, nice. How long what does she like about it?
I don't know. She said she gets to deal with math a lot, and I like math, so.
Okay, no, I think that's fair. I think there's a misconception, though, that accountants are good at math. I would say we're good at information and we're good at data. I mean, yeah, we're kind of good at math, but, Excel definitely helps me cheat a lot. Not that you shouldn't learn the fundamentals, Jensen, but there's this exam you're supposed to take called the CPA exam, and there are 4 parts to it. So you think, oh, you're a leader, and you have to go in and you have to get perfect scores. You have to get straight A's, honor roll. You have to be the best, run the best times, score the most points. But there's this exam, and so there were 4 parts to it. So I signed up to take the 4 parts, and I passed 1. Okay, well, once you pass 1, you have a year and a half to pass the other parts, or the first part expires. So you're kind of on the clock. So paid my fees, studied again. Well, that's a little bit better, right? I passed another one. So yeah, I'll probably get them both this next time, right? I was really close. What do we think? What are my odds? Did I pass? Wow. And 4th time. So if I don't pass these, then the first one expires, and okay. Round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, it was a pain. It was a lot of studying on the weekends, a lot of playing Mario Galaxy afterwards when I was trying to kind of decompress from studying. So, yeah, it was challenging. But the idea is that just because you fail at something, you shouldn't, leaders fail. No one's perfect. You need to just kind of get over it and be okay with being comfortable with failure. Because if you never fail, you're never pushing yourself to do better. And so I kind of want, this is a school setting, so I wanted to kind of leave you with a tool that I've used that's been really helpful. So this is homework, by the way, but there's no score on it. There's no right or wrong answers, but there's this DISC assessment you can take online. It's free. I think there's a pay-for version that's probably more in-depth, but you can take the free version online. And essentially what it tells you is you take some questions and it plots you as a dot on the circle. So the closer to the edge you are, the more extreme you are in whatever category that is. So, you have a dominant section, you have kind of an influencer section, you have a stabilizing and a cautious section. So any guesses where I might fall on there? Just in our brief time getting to know each other here. Cautious, okay, I heard that. Any other thoughts? No, yellow. Wow, who said yellow? What's your name? Wow, thank you. Do you think that persuasive, sorry, my eyes are failing me, inspiring and enthusiastic describe me? A little, wow, thank you. And again, just because you're in one category doesn't mean you can't flex. So I could flex to the eye, but it's probably going to make me really tired afterwards. It could be like writing with your opposite hand, So sorry to disappoint. No, I'm not yellow. I am high blue, almost green. So I'm pretty much, my dot would be at the very bottom, almost, right at around 6 o'clock. So I would encourage you to take it and see where you fall. And I think the nice thing about it is you can't lead other people until you understand yourself. And once you understand yourself, then you can figure out how you interact with others. So I can look at Joel and say, oh, well, Joel's a high D. So me being an analytical person, I might need to approach Joel in different ways because Joel may process information differently. And so that way it just helps you kind of know. And I'm sure as you look through this, you'll say, oh, yeah, my dad's definitely a high D. Or my mom's definitely a high S. I think it's kind of cute. You can think about, or celebrities or professionals, once you start looking at this, it'll make a lot of sense. So again, just a little homework thing. Like I said, I've used this in my career as I've worked with people, and I think it's definitely, been helpful. I was joking, my wife's a high D, so I always get a good laugh because, sometimes dealing with high D people with my personality type, it's always a little bit struggle as a challenge. But, when you get a team, you don't always get to pick your team. I'd probably pick a team of all C's and S's because those are the people I'm most comfortable with. But you need the people that are inspiring. You need the people that are, results oriented and driven. You need all those people together to be able to make your team successful. So I think that basically wraps it up. So I appreciate the time this morning, but again, I think we might be coming back up a little bit later. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Our next speaker is one of the craziest donkey/dog/cow/coffee ladies you'll ever meet. Please welcome Miss Cathrine Miller.
Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. My name is Cathrine. Oh, yes. You're waving at me.
We're going to put it online.
Excuse me?
Use the mic.
Oh, okay.
Just for the recording purposes.
Hello? Yo, what's up? Okay. I've always wanted to do that. My name is Cathrine Miller. Thank you to Caleb Miller, who volunteered me that I need to come here today and speak to all of you. Okay. A little bit about me. My favorite colors, navy blue and camo. Can't go wrong with it. My favorite animal is a sea turtle. I liked sea turtles when I was in junior high. My mom and dad told me that I could not bring one home, so my close seconds are mini donkeys and my cows, which are moo-moos. I love filet mignon. I like to read, And I like to hang out with my chicks in my Bible book club. Oh, okay. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about leadership. Right now, you guys are in high school. You guys have had leadership positions. You guys have been places, done things at your teenager level. Some of you are going to embark on a new journey when you graduate. And that is going to be scary, it's going to be different, and you're going to encounter things that you've never encountered before. So leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. I got that off of the Oxford Dictionary. So, in order to be a leader here, you just need to have a group or an organization. Who can be a leader? Well, we have King Charles now. Movie stars who think they're leaders, teachers, coaches, CEOs, CFOs, professional athletes, pastors of churches, and your friends. So, if you have a group, does that make you a leader? If you have a group of people, can you be a leader? Yes, because all you need is a group or an organization, correct? So your teachers at school, your parents, they're all leaders. They're leading a family, they're leading a team, they're leading a class so that you can become successful. With leadership comes adversity. You will have adversity in your life every day. Some will be small, some will be big. Every day, though, you are going to have adversity. The definition of adversity is a state or instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune. What is adversity? When you experience adversity, you're going to have self-doubt. You could be injured, illness, rejection, poverty, losing a loved one, or struggling in your career. I'm going to go back to being a leader right here. So all of you in this room, you have leaders. Those are your coaches. Those are your teachers. You have expectations for your coaches and your leaders, correct? You want to make sure that if they're a coach and you're playing football or basketball or volleyball, you want to make sure that you're practicing so that you can win, correct? Because who wants to be a loser? Anyone? You want to be a loser? Okay, well, you're allowed to. This is America. But when you become a leader or you are a leader, you have to be accessible. So if you want to become a leader and you want to be a great leader, you have to be accessible. So when you go to college, for you seniors, you're going to have professors. Those professors are going to tell you when you can come and visit them and ask questions. You're going to want to ask questions in those subjects so that you can pass. You need to be coachable. You need to be a servant leader, mentor, inspire, have personal responsibility, self-awareness, empathy, and humility. Now, personal responsibility, you learned as a child. Your parents should have taught you. If you do something wrong, you need to own up to it. Self-awareness, you need to understand and look around you at the people that you hang out with and know if something is wrong, if something is awesome, if something is just not right. You need to have empathy and humility. Not a lot of people have this. Most people do, some people do not. Those that do not, you'll never understand it, ever. The importance of a leadership. When you're a leader, you have to have a goal. You have to have a goal and you need to have a purpose. That goal and that purpose will change every single day. And as you set your goals and your purpose, those will change a little bit each time that you move towards your goal to attain it. Now, the why, how, and what. This is Simic's golden circle of leadership. Go back. Okay. They're not there. Okay, great. So, anybody who has a Apple cell phone in this room, raise your hand. Okay, put your hands down. Who has an Android? Okay. Now, one of those that has an Android, please tell me one reason why you have it. Awesome. All right, somebody that has an apple. Why did you get an apple? All right. Now, there are different types of leaders that you can be. You can be a leader that just shouts, commands, tells people what to do all day long, and never be by your team. You can also be a leader that you're a servant leader, a leader that gets down into the trenches with your people every day, all day long, learning new things every day. So, the why, how, and what, that's how my perception of a good leader is. If somebody knows, since you can't see these, I'm going to go back, the what. If you know what, for instance, does anybody know what NASA wants to do in 2030? Yes, they actually want to go to the moon first and then go to Mars because they want a vacation there for fun. In February, I went to Kennedy Space Center, and they told me that they want to go to Mars, but they're going to go to the moon first. So they're shooting off rockets left and right to try to figure this out. So that was the what. That's what they want to do. Great. Who wants to go to the moon and vacation? Raise your hand, please. Okay. Who wants to take, I think it's a 6-year trip right now to Mars? Anyone? To the red planet. Okay, great. Now, how many commercials do you see for NASA on TV? You don't see any, do you? Nope, you don't. But when people say NASA, who would like to work for NASA? Anyone? No one? Okay. NASA, when you go visit NASA, they tell you why. Why? What are they doing? They want to go to the moon. They want to go to Mars. That's great. Why do they want to do it? They want to do it because nobody else has done it. They want to do it because nobody thinks they can do it. They want to do it because they think that it'll improve our life here on earth. They think that it'll cure diseases. They think that we'll be able to live better. Our world will be cleaner. They think a whole gamut of things are why we should go there. So then people fall into it. They want to go work for NASA via lifting or putting shuttles up in the air, rockets in the air, satellites in the air, doesn't matter. Then they're going to tell you how. They're going to tell you how they're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to invest in everybody out there. We don't care if you have a degree, you don't have a degree. We don't care if you're a mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, somebody walking across the street. If you have an idea, they want to hear it because that is one step closer that they get to the moon or to Mars. Apple, they use this strategy right here. The strategy, Cynic's Gold Circle. Do you know why? Because they tell you why you need an Apple phone. They tell you how nice it'll make your life, how streamlined the process is. If you have an Apple phone, if you have an, do they have iPods anymore? Okay, if you have a MacBook, an iPhone, how nice is it to have your MacBook, your iPhone, your cell phone to all be linked together? How nice is it to airdrop stuff to your friends? How nice is it to make it that you can put light bulbs and a whole gamut of stuff in your house, and all you have to do is use your Apple phone? Who likes that? Who does that now at your house? Anyone? Okay. This is what Apple uses. This is what Apple uses. Oops, we went back. They use Cynic's Golden Circle. They tell you why Apple is so absolutely amazing. This is also another example, kind of a negative one. This is how cults work. Yeah. So if you want to start a new club at school, if you want to do something, you have to tell somebody why. Why are you doing it? What's it going to do for you? Why is it important? Everything about it so that they understand why they're working for you. When leaders tell you why, you're more apt to work for them because you have a passion now for it. When people just know what, everybody knows what they're doing, correct? Everybody knows, hey, we're going to make an Apple phone today. Woo! Okay? But how? They're going to say, hey, this is how you're going to make it. So if I split this room up, everybody in this room knows what? We're going to make an Apple phone today, correct? All right, now, if I split it down the middle, I'm only going to tell this side how we're going to do it. How's that going to help you? Does that help any of you make an Apple phone today? No. But if I tell everybody why we're going to make an Apple phone today, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you why we're going to do it. I'm going to tell you how it works, how it doesn't work, what could we do to make it better. And then after we're done, we're all going to sit in a circle and we're all going to make sure that the software works. We're all going to make sure that everything is the best of the best. So, if you're a leader, leadership is a servant that inspires passion in others. So if you're a leader and you're a part of a group or an organization, you want to tell your people why you're doing something. As a parent, I have a student, a daughter in the audience. When I told her to do something and my parents were at my home, I would tell her, I need you to clean up your clothes. I want you to clean up your bedroom because we might be going, I don't know, if it's, we're going to go get groceries, we're going to go putt-putt golfing. And my parents would always tell me, why are you telling her why to do this? Why are you telling her why to go pick up her clothes? She should just go pick them up because you told her to. You're absolutely right. You should. But I told her why so that she knows and understands I'm doing something for a reason and I have a passion, so I'm going to do this quickly so that we can go have fun. When you're a leader, you need to be accessible. You need to be mentoring. You need to inspire your people, have personal responsibility, empathy, and humility. When you're a leader, it's not about you. It's about your people. It's about what your people bring to the table, and it's about how you coach them, mentor them, and let them know that they are amazing and that they're important in your group. The better your people are and the better that you coach them and the better that you mentor them, you will have greater results because people will have more passion to work for you. And then Cynic's Golden Circle, I do the why, how, and what. All right, so if you're a leader, guess what? You're going to have hard times. Some of it's going to be small, some of it's going to be large. So when you feel all of these that we've already discussed, this is how it's going to feel. When you make a decision as a leader, guess what? You're going to have self-doubt because you're going to have consequences every single time. Some of those consequences are going to be awesome, and some of those consequences will not be so good. So overcoming adversity. You have it every day. Seniors, right now, you're trying to decide, are you going to go to college? All those in favor that want to go to college and are going, raise your hand. All those in favor that want to join the military and keep us free. All those that want to go to work right after high school. All those have no idea what you're doing. Okay. When I graduated high school, I graduated in 1996. I went to Walsh University. I was on the honor roll, and I took a bunch of science classes, and in the middle of my spring semester, I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't know where I wanted to be when I grew up. So I said, I had this itch. I wanted to join the military. I want to join the military. Went home, I told my family. My mom and dad were just like, what? You're going to join the military? Oh my goodness, this is crazy. And they thought that way because their little girl is going to go off and they're never going to see her again because she's going to be out traveling the world. I joined the military. I went to New Philly, signed up with Sergeant Minor, took the ASVAB, could have any job that I wanted. There was only a few available at that time. Signed up, left in 3.5 months, went to basic training. At that time it was 6 weeks, now it's 8. Did basic training. Me now versus me then, completely different. The military made me stretch in more ways that I never thought that I could. I learned about leadership. I learned about people yelling, leadership through yelling right here at my face, spitting in my face, which was kind of scary. I learned how to do more push-ups and sit-ups than I could ever imagine. And I joined the military, left my family. I was sad. At 6 months after I got to my first duty station, I called my parents crying, asking, can you please come and get me because I want to come home. So the adversity that I felt was I was self-doubting myself because I joined the military and I was scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. So, I made some friends in the military. December 25th, I went to my second duty station. It was in Misawa, Japan. I arrived on Christmas Day. The base was shut down, and snow was up here to my hips. So as you're walking down the sidewalks, guess what? There's snow, literally. Put your arms out, you got snow right here. That's what it was like. So if you're walking around, you're seeing front doors literally being shoveled out. That's how much snow we get in Misawa, Japan. Moved to Japan, didn't have a friend. The one person that was supposed to meet me, she came and met me. She said, would you like to come over to my dorm so that you don't have to be alone for Christmas? Absolutely, I would love it. So I went over to her dorm, and I met tons of people. Didn't know anybody, but I went because I was scared, and I felt, what did I do? But after that day, everything got better because I made friends, I went to work, I did my job, and I was a part of something. So adversity is something that you'll face every day. Some people will make excuses. Some of those are you right here in this group. You'll make excuses. If you don't get your homework done, do you tell your teacher your dog ate it? Oh, well, it was really late. I went to the basketball game last night, and I didn't get home till late. Choice and choose. Those are two big words that everybody has. You have a choice to do anything that you want. All you have to do is work hard. You can choose to do anything you want. You'll always have a consequence. Stay disciplined with your goals. Have faith and pray. Recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, improvements for the problem. So overcoming adversity is something you're going to have, and every time that you see it, you're going to be scared. So if I say you're going to face adversity tomorrow, do you think that's a positive thing or a negative thing? If I say it's positive, raise your hand. If I say adversity is negative, raise your hand. So adversity is going to push you out of your comfort level. It's going to make you stretch from the person that you are. You're going to grow each and every time that you have adversity in your life, no matter how small, no matter how large. So what's important about adversity is it makes you a better person, and it keeps you growing, and it makes you learn each and every day. So lead by doing. Michael Jordan is, I think, the all-time best basketball player in the world. In the world. He beats LeBron any day of the week. So he says you have to earn your leadership every day. When you're a leader, when you're a mother, when you're running a business, when you're in a small group for your Bible study, doesn't matter. You have to learn to lead, and you have to do it every day. You have to put time, energy, and effort into it every day. Jay Buchan says, the role of a great leader is not to give greatness to human beings, but to help them extract the greatness they already have inside them. You can be a leader, you can be the best leader in the world by telling somebody what to do. But if you don't invest in your people and you don't help them through adversity, you're no better than anybody else. The goal of many leaders is to get people to think more highly of the leader. The goal of a great leader is to help people to think more highly of themselves. After that you've been in a group, you've been in an organization, those people should come away from that feeling better about themselves, knowing that they can face adversity a little bit easier. So, I have a question for you, and to entice the pot, I have a gift card. So, I didn't see, oh, it's for Wallhouse. Is man here with the boots here? Logan Yoder? No, darn it. Okay. That's all right. All right, so I wanted to ask him a question, but I guess he's not here, so he won't. All right, so I want to know, what did you learn today? Absolutely. Leadership is about growing. You will struggle, and you will face it, and you have to push through it. Here you go. What's your name?
Drake Danley.
Drake? Thank you, Drake. All right, now, for you seniors in the group, I want to let you know that you're going to be going off to school. You don't know what you're going to do. You're going to go to work. That's when your real life is going to start. Also, just a little input because I am a mom. When you graduate, you need to talk to your parents. You need to call them at least. If you're not going to call them every day, text them because they think about you every single day. For you underclassmen, your parents, they love you, and everything they do for you, they are doing because they're leading you. Once you graduate, you get to show them what kind of an adult that you want to be. So I have another gift card. They're not huge gift cards, just by the way, okay? Not huge gift cards. Why? I want somebody to tell me. Logan Yoder is not here, but he has a brand. Is that correct? Okay. Why do you buy that brand? Why do you want to wear his shirt? Why do you want to wear his hat? That's right. Is he not like a TikToker, like super huge? Right? Okay. You are, Gabe, come on up here. Logan Yoder is a fellow student of yours. He has stepped outside of the box. There you go, sir. You're welcome. He has stepped outside of the box. The last time I checked, he had like 100,000 followers on TikTok. I'm sure he gets a lot of flack for that because, like, wow, he stepped outside of the box. He put himself out there. He faced adversity by people maybe talking about him, about people maybe making fun of him, but look at him go. He now has 100,000 followers. He has a clothing line. That's pretty awesome to be a senior in high school and thinking about the brand that he wants to do. So I think that's pretty awesome. So that's what I wanted to tell him. He's not here. So if you see him, tell him I said, man here with the boots, you're awesome. All right. Also, I want to ask one more question, and that is, actually it's not a question, it's just really a statement. You're going to have adversity every day. And it might be because when you set out to do something in your life, seniors, you're going to say, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids, I'm going to go get a job, I'm going to travel the world, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to be honest with you. You can do that. When you do it and it doesn't happen, you need to make sure that you look at yourself and ask yourself what you could do to do better. What could you do to make sure that that happens? You need to pray. You need to make sure that you're following the road that you're supposed to be because it's important. Sometimes you might come to a crossroad where you get into a marriage, you divorce, you might have a falling out with your friend. You need to make sure that you talk through that and you learn something from that because that will be carried with you to the next chapter of your life. All right, so last one, I got another gift card. What is, I guess not what, who is the best teacher and why at Garaway High School? You. Oh, please stand up. Yes. How many agree with him? He said Mrs. Yoder because she makes you remember stuff. Right? Anything else? And she's really fun. Who disagrees with him? That's okay. Guess what? That's okay. Now you have self-doubt, don't you? Because you're thinking, oh my goodness, should I not said anything? Oh, but see, there it is. Courage and conviction right there because you stand by what you say, correct? Absolutely. That's what you need to do every day of your life. You're welcome. I'm sorry, what's your name? Nick? Okay. All right, this concludes me, Cathrine. Does anybody, I guess we do questions and answers later. So, okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
to welcome our next speaker, who is a former Conotton Valley grad and Garaway's very own teacher and coach, Mr. Yosick.
I decided to do things a little bit different, have paper up here to keep me on track. A couple months ago, JT came to my classroom and asked me if you had to give a speech on servant leadership or your successes and failures to get you to this point, what would you choose? And I said, well, is this my 18-year-old self or my 36-year-old self? And he said, your 36-year-old self. And I said, probably servant leadership. And he said, good, you're speaking March 10th. So what I took from that was that he voluntold me that I was speaking and never to trust him when he asked you a serious question. From then until now is kind of my slideshow. You're going to see some vulnerable pictures of myself throughout the years. The first one is of me, my sister, and my mom. Second one is my dad and I, senior night this year during basketball season. And it just kind of depicts the little towhead boy from Bowerson, Ohio, to the teacher and coach that I am now. So knowing that I was speaking to the high school, I decided that that's where I was going to start my journey. Talking to you, is I wanted to give you a background of me, because I don't feel that I can talk about my successes and failures where I'm at now without giving you some history of myself. In school, I participated in 3 sports, football, basketball, baseball. I was also in the high school choir. Mom said, you can participate in sports, but you're going to be involved in music as well. And she said, I don't care if it's band, I don't care if it's choir, but you're going to be involved. So I chose to sing, and my sister chose to play the trumpet. Through high school, I participated in 5 musicals. First one was The King and I. I was the lead role my junior year in The Sound of Music. I got to play Captain Von Trapp and scream and yell and direct orders. Not something that I was really good at, but a lead role that I remember and really enjoyed. Involved in National Honor Society yearbook, also the class treasurer. What I found was that each of these groups that I was involved in provided different ways for me to be a leader. Whether it be through serving, through following and having others follow me. But it gave me a reason to be able to speak and to get others to follow me along the way. In football is where I really started understanding what it meant to hold myself accountable. My line coach was really hard. And if I missed a block, he would say, why'd you miss that block? And I was like, well, he did this. No. You missed the block. You need to be accountable for your own actions, for your own mess-ups. And it was through football that really started instilling in me. So when I hear, well, so-and-so did this, no, what did you do? What did you do to put yourself in that situation? In baseball, I was the catcher. And as the catcher, you're the field commander because you see everything behind you, what's going on. You have to know the situations. Runners on first and third, 1 out. You know, what is our first and third play? If there's a line drive hit to left field, where are we going with the ball? And as the field commander, it was my job to make sure all of my teammates knew what we were doing and how we were going to get there. My influence and leadership qualities were being developed, and like most of you, I didn't understand how important my role was, not just for my peers of the same age, but those younger that watched and looked up to me. One of the things that we stress to our athletes here is make sure you're paying attention to your actions, your choices, because those that are coming up behind you are watching, and they're going to mimic what you do, both positively and negatively. I decided to throw in some random high school pictures. One on the left there is me and my other 2 fellow senior football players. The one up top is 2 of my best friends. Day of prom, we all decided to wear some white and trying to look flashy. Bottom one there is my basketball team. We thought we were going to be good. Problem was, in the IVC back in the early 2000s, everybody was good. Everybody had 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" monsters. And we were 6'3", 6'2", and a lot of 6-footers and below. The one on the right is the year that I was in Annie, Get Your Gun. No, that is not something I wore to school every day. When I approached graduation, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. My mom said this to me, and this is the quote that is up there. It's simple. If you want to make money, you'll become an accountant. If you want to help others, you'll become a teacher. Well, a little bit about my mom and dad was they didn't have a lot of money. They had to work really hard for everything that they had. And they tried to give my sister and I the most that they could with what they had. So being young, wanting to make a lot of money, I decided I was going to go for accounting. I wanted to be able to give back to my parents once I graduated with that accounting degree. You're going to go through these decisions as seniors and when you get there. And it's okay to be lost. It's okay to have mixed emotions. You might try something and you might fail. But failing's okay because failing gives you an opportunity to grow. So I go on to college. And I'm in college for about 2.5 years, and I've had my first accounting class. The guy's name was Mr. Welsh. He was an old school guy. Mr. Amcon, do you remember Mr. Welsh? Did you have Mr. Welsh when you didn't you do accounting? Kent Tusk? Yeah. Okay. So I had this professor, Mr. Welsh. He was an old school guy, and we had workbooks this thick, and that was your job, is to write and fill in these workbooks, and I hated it. Hated it with a passion. So 2.5 years in, 3 years in, I decided I'm switching. I'm going to education. And it was without a doubt the best decision I ever made. Now the problem is that was a really tough decision because I wasn't getting a degree in 4 years like I had hoped for. It ended up taking me 6.5 years to get through school. Once I was done with school, I had my associates in business management, my bachelor's in middle school education, and I also became the first member of my immediate family to go to college and to actually get a diploma. This lady right here is my biggest influence. During college, as I'm going through student teaching, she received news that I hope none of you have to hear. You have cancer. So not only am I trying to finish my degree, go do my student teaching, figure out where I'm going to get a job, I hear those words. It changed. It changed things, something we didn't have control of. It changed our whole lives in a matter of one sentence. So I graduate with the news. This is in September, October that she gets the news, and I graduate in December. January 3rd of 2012, I get another phone call. See, this morning started off really abnormal. So my mom was going to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America to receive her treatment. That morning, it was my job to get up at 5:30 to have her at the airport by 6:30 because she was going in one day. She was flying over to Philadelphia, spending 4 hours getting chemo, coming home that same night. So I get her at the airport at 5:30. I'm home, or I leave at 5:30, get to the airport, have her there by 6:30, home by 7:30. 9:30, my phone rings. It's my dad's boss, and he says, "Your dad was in an accident, and he's being life-flighted to Aultman." I hit my knees. I said, "God, why? Why is this happening to my family? Like, if the cancer wasn't enough, Now my dad's in an accident. And when you hear life flighted, what do you think? It's bad. And he might not make it. So I called my pastor. I said, hey, Dad's being life flighted to Aultman. She said, where you at? I said, home. Where's your sister? She's at work. I'm picking her up. I'm picking you up. We're going to the hospital. We get up there, but the biggest decision is what? Who's not around right now? Mom. She's in Philadelphia. So do we call Mom? So decision after decision we had to make in a short matter of time. And you're going to, I'm giving you the hardest part of my life. These are what I call the dark days. Because again, this is my biggest influence. She's the one that pushed me to be the best version of myself. To be respectful, to be responsible, to help others even when I was getting nothing in return. And now she's in Philadelphia when her husband is being life flighted. What do you do? What decisions do you make? This is where I entered the dark days. So dad ends up, he was ran over, so he made a dumb mistake. He was on a tractor, was standing on a tractor, and Mr. Spillman will tell you that in January, it's probably not a good idea to stand on a tractor and try to jam it into gear because it kicked him off, and he got ran over by a bail buster. And in that process, he broke his pelvis, punctured his lungs, broke his wrist, had a concussion, but he was okay. He was okay. We decided not to tell Mom. And I remember when she finally got to the hospital, I remember just standing there like a statue because I didn't know whether she was going to be mad or what was going to happen. But she came around, put her arms around me, said, it was the best decision you would have made because you know that I wouldn't have got my chemo if I got that phone call. A decision that we had to make in seconds turned out to be the right decision. There's going to be times in your lives where you have to make decisions quickly. And you don't know if it's the right one or not. But it's okay. It's okay. So Dad ends up being okay. He was laid up for 6 months. Mom's still getting chemo. I still don't have a teaching job. I just spent 6.5 years in college. And I still don't have a teaching job. I'm subbing, but everybody says, you don't have enough experience. Well, how am I supposed to get experience if you won't give me a job? So I continued to sub. Wasn't paying the bills. So I ended up entering, ended up working construction with the same company my dad worked for 3.5 years. And in the winters when I get laid off, I would sub. That way I had it on my resume. But I wasn't happy because it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. I just went to school for 6.5 years to become a middle school teacher. And I wasn't getting a job. It was frustrating. My coworkers at the construction company would say, you're going to become a lifer here. You can't find a teaching job. And I said, I promise you, the first opportunity I have to leave and to teach, I am gone. New life. Unfortunately, Mom lost her battle. It was December 29th, 2013. And I say new life and I start with something sad, but it's okay because of what comes next. We struggled with the tombstone, getting the right urn for Mom, and it ended up taking several months. So this is December of 13. We wait until August of 14. August 23rd, 2014 would have been my mom's birthday. It was also the day that we decided to have the ceremony to bury her ashes and then finally put her to rest. That morning, I get a voicemail. See, I was at a wedding the day before, and I didn't have my phone with me. We were in the middle of nowhere and I had no service. And I had a voicemail the next morning. It was Mr. Gibson here at Garaway. He was the principal at the time. And he says, we have an opening for 8th grade math. It's yours if you want it. See, I don't believe in coincidence. I just told you August 23rd was my mom's birthday. That was the day that we were burying her. It was the day that I also received the news that I was the new 8th grade teacher at Garaway. That was my new life. I called my boss that day and said, hey, I'm out. He goes, what do you mean you're out? I said, I quit. He goes, why are you quitting? I said, I got a teaching job. And he knew that opportunity was not one that I was going to pass up. I told you all of that. And I want you to understand that there's decisions that you're going to make that are not easy. But each decision you make is going to shape you in your leadership roles, in your serving roles, your confident role, like how confident you are in yourselves, and you're going to fail. Failure is an opportunity to grow. So this is my 8th year here at Garaway, and what have I learned over those 8 years? It's helped me strengthen my servant leadership mindset. I've developed new ways for handling situations. I'm intentional about being influential to each and every one of you. And I try to focus my attitude and effort on being the best version of myself every day. But every day that is a struggle to do just those 4 things, because life happens. Life happens. It's not easy to wake up and be able to give my all to you guys. It's really tough. But I know that if I give my best effort every time trying, then I am doing the best that I can. So then, what does it mean to be a servant leader? So now that I'm a teacher and I'm a coach, I want to be a servant leader. So when I looked up the definition, it said the primary focus is on the emphasis of the well-being of others. And that's something that I really feel like I try to do with my students, my athletes. I care more about you. See, this might not go over well with some administration, maybe even some fellow teachers, but I'm okay. I don't care. I don't care if you learn the content. That's hard. But what I care about is if we are putting you in a position to be the best version of yourselves. Are you respectful? Are you responsible? Are you trustworthy? Do you have a hard work ethic? Those are characteristics that are going to take you far more than Pythagorean's theorem. When serving, you should not be looking for something in return. When leading, you are helping others reach their full potential. So put them together. As a servant leader, it's important that our own attitude is in check and our energy is focused on others. So some characteristics that I thought about when I think about myself, that these are characteristics of being a great servant leader. I'm empathetic. I care. I'm patient. I'm selfless. This isn't about me. It's about you. Influential. I'm observant. I had a student this year that doesn't normally talk, and I watched body language. And this young lady wasn't herself. So one day I kept her after class. I said, "What's going on?" She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Don't lie. I can see it." "How can you see it?" I said, "I can." I said, "It's a blessing and a curse." I said, "It's a blessing that I get to be able to notice you when you're not yourself. It's a curse because I don't know how to fix it. So you got to be honest with me so I can help you." And the young lady told me what was going on, what was wrong, what she was struggling with. She goes, "How did you know?" I said, "I just know. It's a gift." I showed her that empathy. I got her to help understand that it's okay to be not okay. I talked about some of my life experiences that I just shared with you. She's doing better now. She's doing better now. So my questions for you is, back up. Oh boy. When you look at this list, what are you really good at? What can you offer off this list? And this, again, this is my list. I didn't pull this from any site. This is my list. This is what I felt characteristics of a great servant leader would be. So when you read these 6 things, what are you really good at? What do you need to get better at? See, again, as servant leaders, as teachers, as coaches, it's not about me. It's about you. Me putting you first. I worry about me later. My fiance's in the back, and she'll tell you that I don't care much about me as I do everybody else. That's me. So what are you really good at? What do you need to get better at? How are you going to get there? See, what I understood at Connaughton, and this is what I love about this community, it takes a village. It takes a village. When you've seen those pictures of my mom, see, she got the nickname Mama Gail because she cared about every kid like they were her own. It takes a village to become what you can be. I had plenty of moms. I still call some of them mom. They'll send me a text and say, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good, Mom. How are you? It takes a village. You need to surround yourself with the best people that you can to help put you in the best situation, because when you work together, it's impossible to stop being better. It really is. When I think about my class, we were always voluntold what to do. Our parents would just volunteer us. And I looked, we have doctors, we have teachers, we have nurses. I had 3 of my buddies serve in the military, some overseas. Thank them for their service every day. We were servant leaders. Out of 37 kids, over 20 of us are in a field where we're giving back. It took a village. Where are you at? I'm encouraging you to give back to others, because those that are important to you gave you something that you have inside you. Everything comes back to the decisions that you make. What kind of decisions are you making? Some believe they're a great leader, but the great leaders must first learn to be a servant leader and give back to others what those before you gave you. I had a video from Denzel Washington, talked about an attitude of gratitude. Can't show the video, unfortunately, but he talks about in the video that when your time comes and you're no longer here, they're not going to be pulling a U-Haul behind the hearse, because you can't take what you have here with you. So what are you leaving here that will last forever? What kind of legacy will you be leaving? So when I think about where I was as a toehead kid from Bowerston, my struggles, every decision that I had to make along the way, those decisions helped mold me and helped make me to where I am at now. I am proud to say that I'm a Garaway Pirate, and for 8 years I have taught 8th grade maths. I've taught 7th grade social studies. I'm now teaching Algebra 1. I coach 3 sports. But none of that matters, because what matters most to me is that I try to make a difference in every one of your lives every day. That's what matters most. So I want to leave you with this. I hope that when your time at Garaway comes to an end, that you are able to leave Garaway a better place than when you found it, simply by making great decisions and being a great servant leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yosick. Please welcome to the stage a lobbyist at a billion-dollar company, LinkedIn, Mr. Joel Miller.
Just to be clear, it's the company that's worth billions of dollars, not me. Still working on that part. But hey, my name's Joel Miller, graduated from Garaway 20 years ago, almost 21. So things looked a little bit different back then, but as Tyler said, things are the same in some ways. Out of 4 panelists, of course, 2 of them are named Miller, so we know we're at Garaway. So I threw in, a few photos. Just to be clear, these are for comic relief. When Mr. Immel suggested adding some photos, I went through and it's like, I must be the worst possible documenter of my life. I have no photos at all. The only ones I could find were, a little bit embarrassing for me, but hopefully you get a kick out of them. Senior picture. Okay. No laugh yet. That's pretty good. We had our class photo. We call it the prison yard class photo. If you look at the expressions, it's a little small. You may not be able to see it, but I don't think anybody was. There were a lot of Not too many smiles, actually. But and then we have a few. Looks like that went sideways. I'm also terrible at PowerPoint. But get a little flashback to 20 years ago when we were here. So appreciate the opportunity to be here. Look, there's been so many great points that have been raised today. It's like I don't even know what else I could possibly add. So can we just give maybe a round of applause to all the presenters today who have already gone? I mean, it's just like, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing so many great perspectives. I think maybe it's time we could maybe stretch a little bit. Why doesn't everybody stand up? I'm going to do a quick little survey. And I know you're not supposed to have your phones, but I did bring mine up here. So I'm going to go through a list of social media companies, platforms that you might be on. So let me make sure I get this right in my head. So if you do not use this platform, you can sit down. TikTok. I hear that that's a pretty popular one. Okay, all right. So a few people are not. So if you do not use TikTok, have a seat. Okay. Facebook. That's going to get a lot of you, younger generation, probably. I see all the teachers are still standing. Okay, on that one. Instagram. Okay. So actually, if you have a seat, just stay seated. If you have a seat, sorry, that was the second part, the direction. So if you sit down, have a seat. YouTube. Of those of you still standing, if you do not follow YouTube, okay, wow, all right. So some themes here. All right, how about WhatsApp? Ooh. All right, so we're down 2 people. Okay, all right. So I guess we're. Snapchat. All right. Well, let's just cut to the chase. LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn? Wow. All right. What's your name? I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you. Pauline. Let's give Pauline a round of applause. I'm going to give you a choice. You can have, I brought some LinkedIn. So do you want a notebook, or are you a golfer?
No, I'll take it.
Okay, all right, thanks. That's awesome. Wow. So for those of you who may not know, I guess I'm going to flip to the next. So many of you do not know, but I'm glad that we have at least one student who's on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, for those of you who are 16 and older, to be clear, is a professional networking platform. It's something as you get into your career, it might be something you want to think about, set up a profile on. It's all about the world of work, okay? So, a lot of the other issues with some of the other platforms, we try to stay out of and really want to focus on your career and growth and learning about job opportunities, but also how to grow in your current role. And so just a quick plug in there. Happy to chat later if anybody has any questions. But what does this all have to do with leadership, with my background? So I listed a few things, and this is actually not all of the jobs I've had. You look at the list, you think, this guy can't keep a job for more than a couple years at a time. And in some cases, that seems to be true. But there are some themes that have that I've learned over the years, and it's some of the same concepts that have been talked about today. But quick background, graduated here in 2002. Like I said, I went to Malone graduated in 2006. And then, after undergrad, I really didn't know what field I wanted to get into. And I thought maybe get into teaching, possibly go to grad school. And so I actually taught mostly subbing here in Tusk and Tuscarawas and Holmes counties. And it was a great experience, and really realized how great the schools are in this area. So I hope, you don't take that for granted, because you're very lucky to go to a great school. I decided after a couple years to go to law school, and that's actually when I moved to Washington, D.C., and I went to George Mason. And, at the time, I didn't even know, like everything after that, I didn't even know you could do it. When I was your age, sitting here, I didn't know you could work in Congress. I didn't know, I didn't even know what the FCC was, to be honest with you. Does anybody know? Can anybody tell me what the federal? All right, I see a hand. Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's a great job. Round of applause. What's your name? What's your name? Jensen. Well, great job, Jensen. Appreciate that. You're way ahead of where I was 20 years ago. So basically, did a ton of internships while I was in law school, and everything from traditional legal practice to federal government, worked for a nonprofit, and eventually landed an internship in a congressional office. And I really loved it. And really, just realized Capitol Hill is a fun place to be. And like I said, I had no clue at that point you could even do that. I didn't even know. So did that for a number of years, and then went to work at the Federal Communications Commission, which, as our friend Jensen pointed out, basically regulates telephones, internet, cell phones, and TV and media. And, two themes that have come up today in almost every presentation, I think. Adversity is going to be part of your life, but consistency is important to becoming a leader and kind of developing your trajectory in leadership. I had a very different experience at the FCC. It was was there for about a year and a half at the time, and the commissioner that I worked for, he was one of 5 commissioners. He had been renominated for a new term by the president, and those of you who are familiar with, do we have anyone who likes American government? We have any good government students here? What is if in this case an FCC commissioner? It could be the Secretary of State, could be any kind of political appointee. What's the process? What has to happen once the president appoints someone? What comes next to taking that office? Does anybody know? Any volunteers? Yeah, you, sir.
They go through a process, some screening.
Yeah, lots of screening, lots of vetting. Yeah, absolutely. Any other takers? Well, I'll just cut to the chase. The next step is to be confirmed by the Senate. And so that involves 2 votes. One is a Senate committee takes a vote if they in favor. Yeah, but actually for an appointee, it's just the Senate. So then you have so between the committee and the full Senate, there are 2 votes. In this case, the commissioner I worked for, we worked really hard. We got him through the committee vote, and then almost without precedent, the president withdrew his nomination in August of 2020. So I found out about it. I was actually at Disney World with my family in August of that year. Got a couple phone calls, and so I was walking around Epcot taking phone calls about the situation. And so for me, it was a huge, just a ton of adversity just snapped like in a minute. Went from being the chief of staff to a commissioner, basically one of the highest roles that I would have opportunity to do at the FCC, to immediately, very publicly being out of a job. And we ended up having a couple of months until the new commissioner eventually was confirmed. But basically, this guy, the guy that I worked for, ended up, he had, the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post were writing articles about this and calling us and asking for opinions. And it was a very challenging period. Basically ended up out of work very quickly. And, the reality was I went for like 4 months without a job. And, in a town where there are some of these very public situations, it was hard, to get up every day and to just get back out. You got to keep your feet moving, as they say, for you sports people. to continue to do that every single day takes a lot of personal leadership and just pushing yourself. But that adversity is what gives you the strength to be a leader of other people as well. And so, eventually I went on to take a job with the Trade Association and then have been at LinkedIn for over a year. So my day-to-day now is I work with members of Congress or the administration, try to tell them what LinkedIn does, and if they're regulating us, try to work through some of that. So, I really resonate with a lot of the things that were shared today about when you hit that adversity. It can come in a lot of different forms. It could be a death in the family, could be in your job, in your work, but you never know. And those are the things that you really have to dig deep on, no matter what industry you work in, no matter what you do day to day. And so when I'm thinking about my past and sort of each step that came through here, I was thinking, all right, so what's the theme to get you through this? What's something to tie this all together? And so I'm kind of zero in on kind of one specific element of leadership that has been touched on at times today, but that is your reputation. And let's see. Oh, first, here you go. Here's a little comic relief, lighten the mood a little. I did play baseball, and Tyler and I were talking earlier. It's like, and I think I can see a little bit of the same theme here. It's like when you go to Garaway, like you have half my clothes were like Garaway, something or other. Baseball, in this case, football. We had those soccer shirts. Remember that? It's, to make fun of Highland. I hope that's still a thing. So reputation is something that doesn't matter what, there were a lot of hands earlier. Some of you plan to go to college. Some of you plan to go to work immediately. Some of you have other options in mind. It doesn't matter what you do, where you go. You got to think about your reputation. And, we're talking about, I'll take a slight detour. We're talking about social media, by the way. Just keep in mind, I just want to, if you remember one thing today, it's what goes on the internet stays on the internet. Okay? So I just want you to remember that. When we were in high school, we didn't have it, and it's probably a good thing for a lot of us. But I just want you to remember, when you're thinking about your reputation over time, I happen to work closely with a technology company, but, if it's out there, it's going to stay out there. Like Snapchat, all these things, like don't, you delete your tweets. I mean, believe me, it's out there. So doesn't mean, if you made a mistake in the past, you can't get past it. But I just want to impress upon you the importance of that. So if it's on the internet, it's on the internet, even if you think you delete it. Okay. Anyway, getting that out of the way. Any job you have, it matters how people think about you. And I don't mean in this sort of you should be afraid of what other people think about you, but it matters that people see your work ethic, they see your compassion, and the fact that you're willing to serve. You never know who is going to come back in your life. I'm 20 years out of high school, and I have just now reconnected with some people that I've known in the past. I mean, there have been times in Washington, D.C. where I've connected with people from the past, and you just never know. So we should always keep that in mind. Also, the great thing about reputation is you're in control. You have the ability. Sometimes, there are situations where people make, people are talking or gossiping behind their back, that kind of stuff. But that's, some of that stuff is just, that can be garbage. But when it comes to the core of your reputation, especially in your work, you have control over that. You can decide how hard you want to work, if you want to outwork everybody else, if you want to work harder, if you want to learn and you want to grow, you have control of that. But it takes a long time to get there. And you can also lose it very quickly. And so, again, it's just something to keep in mind. And whether it's on social media or whether it's the people, talking about, being a sandwich artist or being in the military, being a teacher, doing whatever you need to do to get to where you want to go, it's something that you have the ability to control. And I have found, even though I've had a ton, probably like a dozen or 15 different jobs over the last 10 years, everyone has come through an existing relationship of some kind, almost without fail. And I was trying to think back. There were a couple of internships I had that I kind of cold applied to. But in general, every job I've had has come through somebody. So what if you want to get better? You know, you're at an early part of your life. You're thinking, it's going to be great. I've got tons of time to figure this all out. Okay. Well, you can learn it. And the key, and this is the point that has come up multiple times, I just cannot agree more, is consistency. It's what you do every day. You might think it's boring, it's mundane. You know, you're going to class every day at this point. Eventually, you're going to get up and go to work every day. Yeah, sometimes it's boring. But you know what? If you find a way to get up and do it right every day, over time, that will help you get there. And then I actually borrowed this from my current boss, who has the 3 C's, and I don't know if he stole it from somebody else or not, but curiosity, communication, and confidence. If you can get up and be curious about the world around you no matter what circumstance you're in, if you can learn to communicate clearly with the people around you, we've learned a lot about that today, and if you have the confidence to just step out and take the risk, you can do a lot of things, and you can have a lot of success in life. Now, this theme, take your work seriously but not yourself, that's sort of where I was going with. The only other 2 pictures I could find, sorry, were my prom, circa 2001, and again, another Garaway shirt, of course, it's in the backyard. So sorry about that. All right, now we're thinking about, so you get through your career, you get through a year, you get through a month, whatever point in time, and you want to assess and do the self-reflection over, what are the things that I've done well, what are the things that I haven't done well. I would say, and again, this is just sort of to add on to the many great points that have been made today, think about the things that matter and pay attention to those things, because that's what you're going to need when you go through a very difficult time. Find meaningful work with people you like and respect. Doesn't matter. You want to go to college, you want to go to law school, you want to be a lawyer, or you want to go to work, you want to take over a family farm, you want to do anything. You want to open a small business. I mean, many of you are going to go on to open businesses. You want to be a social media influencer. Any of these things, you need the support system. And you got to look for challenges, and you got to, embrace the challenge. And nothing great comes easily. So you're going to find that in your life. The greatest reward comes with taking on the biggest challenges. Your faith, your family, and your friends, to me, are really what get you through the setbacks. And again, many different kinds of setbacks, a lot of different kinds of adversity. We've heard a lot about it today. But these are the core circles to me, the things that really can help you get through. All right, one more trivia. Should we take volunteers, or should I just ask the questions? What we've got here are some LinkedIn-branded golf balls, of course, shameless plug, and the category is going to be buildings of Washington, D.C. All right. I heard a little bit of buzz. Okay. Any volunteers? Let's see if we can get any volunteers first. I see a hand. All right. Glasses, gray sweatshirt. Okay. Come on down. All right. What's your name? Nate? All right. He's playing for the golf balls. All right. We're going to do buildings of Washington, D.C. What is the tallest building in Washington, D.C.? And I can give you multiple choice if you like. Do you want multiple choice? All right. Washington Monument, U.S. Capitol, or the Library of Congress? Washington Monument. Give him a round of applause. That's correct. All right. But that's not all. There's one building in Washington, D.C. that is the geographic center of the building. And so that just means every direction of the city goes out from there. So there's a northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. Okay, so I'm going to, and you know what? I'll let you can ask a friend on this one if you want. What building is the geographic center of Washington, D.C.? Anyone want to help him out? All right, I'll give you multiple choice while you're thinking about it. U.S. Capitol, Supreme Court, or Library of Congress? All right, I see someone helping you out. You want to call on a friend, or do you want to take a guess? Okay, he wants to call on a friend. Yes, sir, right here. I'm sorry?
U.S. Capitol?
Yes, very good. All right, bailed out. All right, but we have one more question to really bring it home. All right, so based on that question, okay, so it's very important that you listen very closely to this address. The U.S. Capitol divides the city into 4 quadrants. So every address has a direction on it: northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. Okay. There's a building. I'm going to give you 2 options. There's a building that is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, southeast. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, southeast. All right. It's a little bit of a trick question. Is it the White House or McDonald's? All right, he says the White House. Does anybody agree? Does anybody disagree? All right, it was a trick question. Southeast part of the address is very important. The White House is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, northwest, and there's literally a McDonald's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, southeast, where I take my kids to get Happy Meals too often. But here you go. Thank you for playing. We appreciate it. Good job. All right. So just want to say thank you, everybody. You've been an awesome crowd. Honestly, it's great to be back, to see people from Garaway. Don't forget about your reputation. It's going to stick with you. Everything you do, no matter where you go. And I'll leave you with that. All right, let's turn it back over.
All right, so we're going to get started with the Q&A session. I guess we'll just go down the line. So the first question we have for you is, what is the hardest decision you've had to make as a leader?
Sorry, is this? Okay. I think, and maybe I'll go back to the example I got, or that I gave earlier about, losing a job in a very, quickly, unexpectedly. I think, figuring out how to respond. And, you were talking earlier about, Mr. Yosick talking about, making a decision on a high-stress time when you don't have a lot of time to think about it. And really just thinking about how to respond to, getting press calls and stuff like that in an intense moment. It really kind of makes you, reflect a lot on kind of what got you to that point to be able to make those decisions.
I'm glad he went first so I had time to think, but I think mine was the decision to stop going through the interview process and subbing and making the transition to work construction, not knowing if I would ever fulfill what I went to school for. I think that decision weighed heavy, and that was probably my toughest decision because I was I don't know if that's the answer to the question because it's as a leader, but for just life in general, because I'm trying to lead it to a certain direction, that was my toughest decision.
Ooh, I'm going to pass it to you.
You're going to pass? All right. Hi. I don't know. I mean, that is a tough one. I mean, I think this might be a bit of a cop-out, but maybe the hardest decision is just not making a decision and just kind of staying the course, because that's not sexy or glamorous, but, just going, and the other speaker said this, but like just getting after it every day, and not like hustle, side hustle, all that stuff, but just like going in and like paying attention in class, not being on your phone as much, like going to open gyms and practices and like showing up to work on time and doing a good job at like, we all laugh at that, but there's not that many people that are good at being consistent all the time. So I would say just kind of sticking in, being resilient, I guess, would be the important thing. So like I said, as we talk about failures and things, being able to bounce back, and how do you respond to those? Because their day's going to come when something horrible is going to happen. So I think just, being consistent is, probably, it's a small challenge every day, but I'd say that's probably the biggest decision. It's just consistency.
I would have to say, could you read the question again? See, sometimes as a leader, you have to have the question read to you again, and that's okay.
What is the hardest decision you've had to make as a leader?
Okay. So I wear a lot of different hats. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner. So the hardest decision that I have to make is, on a regular basis, is to show up every day for those that count on me. Because there are days in my life I don't want to have to show up. So the hardest decision that I have to make, being a mom, is showing up every day and putting energy, effort, and time into it so that my kids know that I'm there for them and that I'm a good role model for them. Also, showing up and being a leader for them, and then looking back, saying, hey, how could have I handled that better each and every day, every morning before you all go to school? When you have your parents yelling at you, that kind of starts your day off wrong. And there have been a couple mornings I've done that. So I look back at the decisions I have made and think, what could I do to do better? Or what can I do to keep making those better decisions?
So the next question we had was, how do you use leadership in your daily life?
For me, I mean, with leading a classroom or an athletic team, I have to make sure that I am giving them what they need. My athletes or my students. So making sure that I am, as on top of my game as I can be. To make sure that I am being the role model, the influencer, giving the respect, and all those things that they want in a leader, or that we look for in a leader. Making sure I'm giving those. So it's daily. It's daily for me because I interact with 100 kids, 150 kids every day. So I have to be on the top of my game with those characteristics.
One of the examples I show in leadership, a doctor taught me one day at work, is to learn somebody's name. Learn somebody's name and say good morning to them with their name. Another way I show leadership is thanking somebody every day, complimenting somebody every day to show them that I appreciate what they did for me. This morning I went to Dutch Valley to have breakfast. Betty was my waitress. And I said, excuse me, what is your name? She said, my name is Betty. And I said, Betty, I'm Cathrine. Thank you so much for serving me today, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to eat at Dutch Valley today. So I do little things of leadership to show people that they're important in their life and in my life.
How do I demonstrate leadership every day? I think a lot of it is just, I thought of Joel a lot when I saw he was like public policy, because we were talking earlier, and I thought, the idea of like being a leader involves like networking, and it involves politicking, and going and talking to people and getting feedback and buy-in on things. So I think that part of my role as a leader, and I guess fun fact, so leaders can be direct or indirect, right? So in my job, I'm a leader, but I don't have anyone that directly reports to me, and that doesn't that's not an ego thing. I don't care. Honestly, it's kind of nice to not have anyone report to you. But the idea is that, every day I'm politicking. I'm sharing information with people. I'm having side conversations, getting people bought in, and so that someone doesn't get surprised in a meeting. So for my job, it's very important to help lead people to, if I have an idea or I'm trying to lead someone to a conclusion, it's my job to help gather information, get the right people in meetings, and kind of manage timelines and expectations there. So I think just that whole, like we talked about, just being connected and building that, network and being able to, be resourceful and know who you can leverage. I mean, part of it's just that, I don't have all the answers, but I know the people who do, and that's, I think, what leaders have to do is understand that they have shortcomings, but they know the person who can answer those questions. So.
These are all great points. I think, one thing that I try to do every day is just take a couple minutes at the beginning of the day to think about the day and to organize, to think of what are the priorities that need to be done today to achieve goals, or to, what my boss wants from me, or what just needs to be done. But actually just taking a slight pause to get organized helps me think more clearly.
Okay, the third question we have for you is, what is your greatest leadership quality?
I think for me, one thing is trying to listen to what people are actually saying. Because a lot of times it's easy when someone starts talking to sort of immediately, I know, a weakness for me is just immediately start thinking of the next thing I want to say. But I think, over time, learning to really listen to what people are actually asking and not just assume that they're going to jump to the same conclusion that I'm about to tell them about, but waiting, giving them a chance to explain it, listening closely, I think for me is something I strive for, at least.
Energy and passion. If I believe in something as a leader, if I'm in a position, if I have energy and passion for it, that is my strength, by far.
I don't know why these are so hard. It's challenging. I think I would say, kind of that, no, I changed that. I would say a learner mindset. So I know that's probably, appropriate for a school setting, but I think there's some people who say, well, that's not my job. I don't do that. You know how many crappy things I've done at work that aren't fun? Like, not literally crappy things like the shoveling poop in the Swiss Festival Parade, but just actual, just things that are outside of my scope. Whereas I've moved on to different jobs in my career that there's long tails, right? So there might have been something I was involved with 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm still getting contacted. Hey, Tyler, can you help us sit down and go through this thing? That happens all the time. So I think the idea of just, lost my train of thought here, but I think you got the point I was trying to make.
I was going to say what he said. And then when you took it and you said that, I was like, oh, that's a really good one. I'm going to, those two are really good. I also would think, just my honesty. Any of you that have come to me and talked to me, especially athletes, you know that with me, I don't know if I'm right, wrong, or indifferent half the time, but you know that you're going to get my honest opinion. And, I think the fact that so many of you entrust me with the questions that you ask me or wanting that advice, the trust part's already there because I've built that relationship with you that you want almost that brutal, honest truth, and I appreciate that. And I think that the fact that I had to get, like I said, I don't know if I'm right, wrong, or indifferent, but just the fact that I'm trust or honest is probably my best quality.
Okay, real quick before we dismiss to get on the buses here, could you stand up if you took notes today? Stand up if you took notes today. Okay, Mr. Patterson, you get 2 free items from the cafe anytime you like. Okay, they're on me. Good job. Hey, look, thank you. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, this was awesome. We started the leadership class, Jess, how many years ago was that? Yeah, it's been several years. This is something that is their project. This is their project to facilitate this. Mr. Immel and the leadership students, you guys have done an awesome job. I had nothing in this year. So I'm very thankful. I appreciate the efforts. I thank you for taking your time to prepare and to come share with our student body. And this was an awesome panel. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Yes, they've gotten you gifts to show their appreciation.